There it is.
So I just want to welcome everyone to the first of 4 discussions for the official plan review. In this tonight's session, we're going to be focusing on growth management. And I am going to, right from the get-go, turn it over to Marco from the municipality to give a few words of welcome, and then we'll get right into the content of the meeting.
Thank you, Donna and Ron. Welcome everybody to our first session of our community engagement for our OP update. Welcome to everybody, and it's great to see we've got a great turnout, and we've got, as you know, another session later on tonight and 2 tomorrow. We're really seeking input from our members of the town of East Gwillimbury area to assist us in our OP update to help shape our growth as we look forward into the future. And we've got a great team behind us. We've also got Adam Robb. He's our senior planner with the town of East Gwillimbury. He's assisting with managing the project and working closely with our consultant team led by the planning partnership, Donna Hine and Ron Palmer. They're the author. They'll be the authors of the OP update and involved in the background work and the public engagement sessions. And we'll have more to come. I won't get into that detail, but I just also want to introduce Madam Virginia Haxon. May say a few comments, and I see we've also have local councillor Scott Crone in attendance, and we may see some other councillors who join later on. So before I turn it over to Donna and Ron, I'll turn it over to Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Marco. This is an exciting evening tonight to have a community meeting about growth management. I know that we have many members of our community that are very interested in participating and contributing. And I won't take any more time. I'm excited to be here tonight and looking forward to moving forward with Donna and Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Don, I think that Tom just join us, our CAO, Tom Webster. We just kicked off a minute ago if you wanted to make some remarks.
Marco. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And these are very important sessions. The official plan process and this municipal comprehensive review is probably one of the most important things that we do as a municipality. It sets the stage for the next 20, 30, 40 years of growth, and it's an important initiative. We're really pleased to have Ron and his team engaged. They're experts in the field, and we're also pleased that we have such a great staff team. And Marco brings a ton of experience along with our senior leadership team. And so Marco, I'll pass it over to you. We're looking forward to listening tonight to the first of 4 sessions, and hopefully we get some great input. And I'll pass it now on over to you, Marco. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tom. Sorry, Don, I forgot, my apologies. I see Councillor Laura-Lee Carruthers has also joined us this evening as well, our Holland Landing Ward Councillor. So welcome to Councillor Carruthers. So at this point, Donna, I'll turn it over to you and Ron.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Well, thanks for the introductions, Marco. Myself and Ron will be leading the charge on the conversation tonight. So let me get us started. As I mentioned, this is the first of 4 sessions we have planned over the next couple of days. We're here tonight. We're going to talk about growth management. Then we have complete communities later on this evening, sustainability and climate change, and then agriculture and rural lands. Before we get started, I wanted to do a couple of quick polls. I find it always interesting to understand who is participating on the call. So the first one, I want you to tell me just really quickly if you can see it on my screen. I'm assuming yes. Ron, yes, you can see the poll. Okay. Are you a developer or developer's representative or a resident of East Gwillimbury? And again, it just lets everyone know who we're speaking with. I just give you 2 seconds to answer that. So we're seeing a pretty even split between developer, the representative, and residents. So I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of that. Thank you for that. You can see the results that I'm sharing now. Let me just keep going. So to put this into a bit of context, you might remember that we had our first visioning session back in late October 2020. And that was a conversation where we talked about a number of topics. And in particular, we were interested in getting words and phrases that could become part of a vision statement, and then words and phrases that could become part of the fundamental principles that form the foundation of the work that we're doing. We had some terrific comments that were shared during those sessions, and this is the draft vision statement that the team has put together. Talks about East Gwillimbury evolving into balanced, sustainable, complete community, range of employment opportunities, public service facilities, commercial uses. Talks about the town's unique villages being supported, accommodating compatible development, and that the really strong character giving elements, natural areas and farmland are protected in the long term. The vision statement also talks about East Gwillimbury continuing to support the high quality of life for its current and future residents. Before I go on, sorry, I'm going to try one other thing. No, okay, never mind about that. The vision statement was also supported by 8 draft principles, and those principles speak to a number of different topics. So they talk about giving priority to the protection and enhancement of the natural heritage system. They talk about protecting and fostering a vibrant agricultural and rural community, ensuring that development contributes to the creation of complete communities, encouraging the support and supporting the creation of a full range and mix of housing options. Other principles spoke to infrastructure planning and investment that's to support logical and sustainable development patterns, the need to create a cohesive, vibrant, and connected urban communities, an opportunity to promote the creation of resilient and environmentally sustainable communities, and then the need and importance of promoting and providing economic development. The municipality, after that first workshop in late October, launched a campaign that was called Chat with a Planner. And that launched at the end of March 2020. And over the course of several weeks, they had 15 individual conversations with residents to hear their feedback. It was a terrific way to reach out to the community. Conversations were held on the phone or through virtual meetings. And it was used to supplement what we were hearing at the online workshop in October and to augment what we're going to be hearing tonight. Through those conversations, Adam put together a word cloud where he pulled out the words that were most commonly used in those conversations, and the size of the fonts recognize the regularity of the use of the words and phrases that were shared in the conversation. So this word cloud, he developed to pull out those keywords. And so you can see affordability and heritage and walkability and trails are some of the words that people repeatedly mentioned in those conversations. Adam pulled out a number of key topics. Those were growth, retail and commercial, trails, affordability, children, planning for schools, planning for a range and mix of housing, protection of heritage, the need to provide jobs, and then the idea of making East Gwillimbury a unique attraction. I'm going to ask Ron to turn on his mic now. Yep, there you go.
Is it on?
Yep, you're all good.
Adam also produced this graphic, and what it's trying to do is tell us that as we go through the official plan process and the preparation process, we are focusing on a number of key topics, all of which are interrelated and come from the review of the vision statement and the guiding principles. Tonight, we're here to talk about growth management and balanced growth. Later on this evening, we'll be talking about complete communities and housing. And then over tomorrow, we'll be talking about sustainability and climate change. and the agriculture and rural lands that are included within East Gwillimbury. Community design is also part of the conversation about complete communities. So we're not following exactly these categories, but they're all covered over today and tomorrow night. Lots of conversation among our team, with staff, with council, and with a whole bunch of other stakeholders as we work through the process, trying to get to a point where we're ready to put pen to paper, which we have not started yet. I guess pen to paper wouldn't be correct and typing wouldn't be right either. But at the end of the day, we haven't started actually writing the official plan yet. We want to hear from the public about your thoughts on all of these topics. And they're all highly interconnected. The next slide, please. Coordination is a really important part of planning and an official plan. We've been having conversations with the senior management team, making sure that we're coordinating with the administrative capabilities of the municipality, the financial side, the legal side, the engineering side. And it's really important to know that comprehensive planning is a really important focus of our work to date. You have a good land supply in East Gwillimbury that can accommodate growth within the region. And we are intending to meet provincial forecasts, and those forecasts are also used by other agencies to allocate funding for public services like schools and hospitals and healthcare and so on. We are not starting from scratch. Back in 2010, the municipality did a new official plan, and in many respects, it was a good official plan. It has worked pretty well over the past 21 years or 11 years, and we expect to build on all the positive aspects of that plan and then bring it up to date with modern, more up-to-date policy frameworks. There has been a tremendous change in provincial policy since 2010, including a new growth plan and a new provincial policy statement, and a new amendments to the Planning Act that all have to be recognized in this document. A pretty fundamental element of our work here in East Gwillimbury is linking projections for growth with the provision of infrastructure. And that's a really important part of growth, not just in East Gwillimbury, but all of North York region, including Aurora and Newmarket. And some of the servicing strategies are also intended to accommodate growth in both Aurora and Newmarket going forward. Next slide, please. This is the map that we start with when we talk about growth management in East Gwillimbury. It's a really important map because it tells us where we're starting from. We don't want to forget about Mount Albert. It's a really important community here in East Gwillimbury. And it has plans within it that build out to its current settlement area boundary. And that has been considered in our growth management exercise. Then we get to the larger agglomeration of Holland Landing, Sharon, Queensville, and how that will be dealt with. What's really important is that there are a number of colors within that square. Blue is intended as future employment. Pink is already planned and approved development in the in the greenfield areas of those three communities. And the green, the darker green, is the natural heritage system within this area. The areas in white in between, you're going to hear me call the white belt. And that is the focus of substantial future growth here in East Gwillimbury. But I also don't want to forget the light green and the brownish blob in the middle of East Gwillimbury. The light green is the area that is covered by provincial policy through the Greenbelt Plan. Provincial policy related to the Greenbelt also has been updated recently, and we will need to reflect that. The Oak Ridges Moraine Plan applies to the brownish blob, and that remains in place and is an important planning policy framework that needs to be carried forward. In terms of growth management, it's really important to state that we will not be promoting any settlement area boundary expansions into the Greenbelt or into the Oak Ridges Moraine area. The focus of future growth will be on developing all of the blue and pink as the first priority. Second priority will be moving into the white belt, which is those white areas around Sharon, Holland Landing, and Queensville, but no change to that light green or the brown blob. Those are covered by provincial policy. Next slide. As I mentioned, we start with Mount Albert, and Mount Albert is not quite built out to its settlement area boundary, but it will be in the life span of this plan. So all of the yellow areas will be primarily residential, and the gray and pink will represent employment development and retail commercial development within the time frame of this plan. Again, no expansion to Mount Albert. The Mount Albert boundary is anticipated. Next slide. As I mentioned, the white belt is a really important part of the consideration of this plan. We do anticipate that the already identified greenfield areas within Queensville, Sharon, and Holland Landing will be developed in the time frame. And we're also looking at building out all of the lands within the white belt in East Gwillimbury. That is about 995 hectares of land that is identified generally in the darker blue and the yellowish orange here on this map. Next slide. A difficult to read slide, but nonetheless, this kind of summarizes all of the various development and growth opportunities that exist today in East Gwillimbury. And this is what the existing communities can deliver in terms of future growth, as well as the building out of the white belt. Next slide. Where we get to this is our relationship with the region of York, who are currently doing what they call a municipal comprehensive review, which is intended to allocate growth throughout the region based on the provincial growth plan to the year 2051. Based on our assessment of capacity in all of East Gwillimbury, including building out the existing greenfield lands and the white belt, we think that we can accommodate about 135,000 people and about 55,000 jobs to the year 2051. That includes all of the white belt lands for urban development. That's an important principle, setting aside the planning horizon, because considering the full build out allows the municipality to do really appropriate long-term planning with respect to infrastructure and placement, sewage treatment facilities, water supply, roads networks. Fundamentally important to do that kind of long-term planning. Also important to form the basis for a financial plan to ensure that we get there in an appropriate and fiscally responsible way. We're also looking at a plan that supports and plans on the future Highway 404-400 connecting link. That's an important piece of highway infrastructure that has been off and on at the provincial level for quite some time. It is now still on the books, and the province is continuing with the approval and funding strategies to achieve that highway link. As I mentioned before, the Upper York Sewage Solution, as well as the Water Reclamation Center, are really important elements of long-term municipal infrastructure planning. And it's really important to link the future growth of East Gwillimbury, Aurora, and Newmarket to ensure that the sewage treatment capacity and the water capacity exists in the long term to accommodate anticipated growth, both to 2051 and beyond 2051. There's no point in building a sewage treatment plant that achieves a quarter of the population and employment anticipated. It's okay to phase the development of those facilities, but we need to understand what the capacity of those systems will be in the ultimate build out of all three of those municipalities, East Gwillimbury, Newmarket, and Aurora. This comprehensive planning is really important to make sure that we're achieving all of the municipal objectives in the long term and to make really important decisions about infrastructure, community facilities, and financial planning. Next slide. What I'd like to talk about tonight, and I'm almost done the presentation because I really want to hear from the stakeholders who are on the call about your thoughts about what I've said. But what I want you to think about is we understand from our market experts that for the time being, East Gwillimbury is a really attractive location for what we call ground-related residential development. And that is single detached housing, semi-detached housing, and some townhousing. Over time, we expect that a change in the housing mix in East Gwillimbury to also include much more townhouse development and eventually more intense forms of housing, including stacked townhouses and apartments. We think that demand for new development in East Gwillimbury is sustainable in the long term and is an important market consideration as we move forward. We also want to be cognizant of the need to attract employers to East Gwillimbury. And as Donna mentioned, later tonight, we'll be talking a little bit about the concept of a complete community. But what that really means is that you have places to live, places to work, places to shop, places to go to school, healthcare, all sorts of facilities that you can access within your own community without having to travel to other communities to get those services. So employment land is a really important part of our calculation in growth management. One of the things that I've heard as we've gone through this process, both from the public discussions that Adam held, our initial discussions with the public back in the visioning session, as well as conversations with council, is the idea of urban separators maintaining or helping to maintain the identities of Holland Landing, Sharon, and Queensville. Part of our discussion is about what is an urban separator and where should they be located. We have a pretty good system of natural heritage features in this white belt area. We can build on that, but if there's missing pieces and gaps, and how should we work with those to create a growing community that still respects the character and identity of the existing communities. Certainly, we know that the village cores, as they exist today, and the major local center along Green Lane have the capacity to accommodate a lot of business growth, and we'll be looking at opportunities to grow their functional elements as interesting destination retail and community facility locations. There was also some conversation about the potential of a future major institutional use. I know that the idea of a university had always been part of the Queensville plan. That may no longer be possible, but potentially there are other institutional uses that may be interested in moving to a growing East Gwillimbury. And that may include a healthcare facilities, a hospital, or some other combination of major institutional development. Next slide. Next slide.
Sorry, it's the next steps, Ron. I don't know if we want to break now for conversation, come back to next steps, or do you want to do the next steps? And
No, let's go to see what everyone has to
okay.
say.
So I'm going to just stop sharing for a minute so it doesn't take up so much of everyone's screen. And I'll just look, it's not we have 20 people about on the call, so you can, if you want to use the reactions button, do the raise hand, or I'm happy to have you just turn your mics on and get queued up to share any thoughts that you want to share. And Ron, specifically, you're looking for comments on or response to your ideas about the short-term opportunities, the employment land uses, the urban separator.
I'm happy to hear any conversation about growth management at all. I've thrown a few topics out there that are interesting, but growth management is a very broad topic, and we're happy to hear what anyone has to say about it.
While people are getting their thoughts together, I wouldn't mind knowing, I'm going to launch another, or can you see the poll that I've launched on my screen? Can you see that, Ron?
Well, it's on my other screen, so I don't know if it shows
It's
up.
there. It's there.
Okay.
I see it, Donna. It's there.
Okay, I just want to understand of the centers in East Gwillimbury, which one you live closest to, again, just so we have a sense of the distribution of the people on the call. I'll just give it a couple of seconds. Just a couple of more seconds. Okay, and I'm just going to share the results so you can see. That looks like it's a kind of an even distribution amongst Mount Albert and Holland Landing and Sharon. Okay, that is great. Thank you very much for that. I'm not seeing any comments. Adam, are we getting anything in the chat box? Any comments in the chat box?
So far, I've seen nothing, Donna.
Okay.
But feel free to use either format, everyone.
And then I do have just one other polling question. This is about agriculture. I want to understand if anybody farms all or part of their property.
There was no one from the rural agricultural area in the
Oh,
poll.
okay, just in case anybody. Okay. Okay, so we don't need to keep that one up. All right. There we go. Terry, go ahead. I see your hand up.
Good evening. It's Terry Russell. I sit on the EDAC of the town and I live in Sharon. Looking at the last summary, where we're talking about getting 155,000 people and 55,000 jobs by 2051. As a resident, one of the main concerns I've always had to attract employers is, yes, we need employment lands, but they have to be serviced. And that gets back to two issues. One is water treatment, et cetera, and the ongoing saga of how the water treatment scenario and water supply is going to be resolved is certainly something that is a major concern to make that happen, that we've been kind of going around about for quite a while. And the other piece in terms of resource, of course, is broadband, which we're working on now, which is going to probably take a substantial amount of money by various levels of government to make all this happen. So those two things alone are big ifs and big players in terms of being able to get the kind of employers we want and attract the kind of employees that we want. The other piece of that would be transportation. And I didn't see anything about transportation in that piece of it. So
Mhm.
those things are all important. And to me, to get to the next step, we have to have those things. So that will allow us to be able to attract advanced education. We try to get a university, but that doesn't mean we still can't get some form of advanced trades. I know the Ford government has said it will support the trades substantially. So that's a good thing. So maybe we get something with that. We have land so we can provide space for healthcare if we need it, et cetera. So that was another piece. The only other thing I would say, and I hope we don't make the same mistake, at least I consider it a mistake, that Toronto has made, in that they have stacked far too many people on top of each other in too dense an area. And now that we're in a gigantic kerfuffle called COVID, people have no place to go. They're stuck in their apartments. They don't have any room to move around. And that's the last thing that I would want to see happen to our community by 2051. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Ron, do you want to respond to any of
Well,
that, the issue of servicing or transportation?
Yeah, I'll respond to that. I'm not going to debate Terry on the issues of COVID-19. However, I totally agree that fundamental to the future evolution of East Gwillimbury is, of course, all services. And that includes everything he mentioned: sewer, water, transportation facilities to serve those growing areas, and the broadband issue. Those are all fundamental elements that any business will be looking for as a part of their decision making and to move to East Gwillimbury and open up a business. So I totally agree. And part of the discussions we've been having throughout the process are, how do we plan for that in a comprehensive way? I don't know if Marco wants to jump in on this, but the town is currently undertaking a master infrastructure study and a master transportation plan. And we hope that the land use planning, as well as the sewer and water planning and the transportation planning, all work together to go towards the same outcome. And that's a really important principle of where we're going with this growth management exercise. So I appreciate that, Terry. And broadband is crucial as well. And we know access to land, taxation, cost of land, access to a labor force, and access to technology are crucial elements in attracting businesses in a very competitive market.
So Marco, put your camera on. Do you want to weigh in on it, Marco?
Yeah, no, thanks, Donna and Ron. I'll just add a couple good points Terry made. And he's right. I mean, with respect to the, we're working at a senior management level with York Region to ensure that, we're taking a coordinated approach to manage our growth moving forward. Land use planning, infrastructure planning, all the things that Ron mentioned. I mean, we're getting a lot of interest in our employment land secondary plan area along the 404 boundary, just and Woodbine corridor, just north of Green Lane. And the good news is that, as you know, the province is committed. They're finalizing the EA for the 400 and 404 link, what was known as the Bradford bypass at the northern end of town, and that'll serve future employment lands. And they're strategic because they're along, Hot 404 and the new Bradford bypass. So, and as you know, the province and York Region Council and our council have reinforced their, their endorsement of that project moving forward. And we're hoping that they'll complete that EA and final design over the next couple of years, and we may see shovels in the ground for that that new highway expansion. So that's a key transportation component for our future growth, specifically with opening up new employment lands.
Okay, thanks, Marco. We're just going to go read the first names of my list of participants, just in case. I want to make sure everybody's given an opportunity to share anything you'd like to share. So I'll just call out the first name and look for your mic to come on. If you don't want to share any thoughts, that you don't have to turn your mic on. So I'll just go down groups of three. So I have Angela, Graham, And then I have somebody that's K dash. And then I have Keith and Kevin and Christine. And then I have Madeline and Michael and Rhonda. And then I have Ron, Terry, we just heard from. T. Foster. Another Tom. And then Zia. Okay, so I am going to go back to sharing my screen. And Ron, you can
Sure.
just wrap up on what those next steps are.
So our next steps after tonight, obviously we still have 3 more of these open house discussions to go. As I mentioned, complete community and community design and housing are at 7 o'clock tonight. And then tomorrow we have sustainability and resiliency and rural agricultural area topic discussions. We are continuing to work with the region on the growth management elements, because at the end of the day, they have a major role to play in that, and we need to get on the same page. And the growth allocations are fundamentally linked to commitments for investment in infrastructure. We're looking forward to completing this early consultation over the next couple of days, and following that, we'll be finalizing the background report, and we expect that in a month or so, and we'll be ready to produce that. Following that, we'll start putting pen to paper in the more modern sense of whatever that means, and hopefully be back looking for public input on a draft official plan this fall, with the objective of additional the statutory public meetings and council adoption either just before the end of the year or very early next year. So we're hoping to gain some momentum and keep things rolling, and look forward to future opportunities to have more discussions about what the planning policy framework looks like going forward.
Okay, does anybody have, is there anything we need to know from anybody on the call? Any thoughts about what you've heard tonight? About the white belt or the urban separators, employment lands? Okay.
Very good.
Marco.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, thanks Donna and Ron. I mean, it was a great presentation, very, very informative. We had a relatively quiet group this evening. I recognize a few names and they're unusually quiet. I think all I'll say is that, if there are any questions that anybody on the session tonight has, or any comments, they can just follow up with myself or Adam, Ron, or Rob, and send us an email, and we'll make sure that that's tabled with Don and Ron as to form part of the public input that we will be receiving as we move forward with this process. But again, it's great to see everybody, good turnout. And again, we do have another session tonight and 2 more sessions tomorrow, and some additional, as Ron's mentioned, public engagement, public meetings as we continue to move forward towards a completion this fall.
Okay, thanks, Marco. So with that, I'll end the meeting on everyone's behalf and stop the recording, and thank everyone for joining this first community session on economic development, economic growth. Thank you very much.